Right, fellas, big week of training ahead. The next few weeks, we're playing second in the league and third in the league. If we win these games, we more or less guarantee ourselves promotion for next season. So I want to see some massive effort out there these next few weeks. And we've also got a youth intake coming up as well. So you guys need to be on point. Otherwise, some youngsters might be coming in to take your place. So I want to see a big effort over these next few games, guys.
Looking for trouble and fights, but you found me. No, I'm a screw up, but baby, I'm glad you're someone to rely on, someone to rely on. No, I'm a screw up, but baby, I could be someone to rely on, someone to rely on, someone to rely on.
Hello everyone and welcome back to episode number 7 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and if you're looking forward to this double header to top of the table clashes, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But we have had the weekend off. I hope yours did go well. We've played a few games since the last episode where unfortunately we did suffer a 1-0 defeat to Vikingur, which if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it above my head in the top right corner. But today we are taking on Leiknir and KF, teams who sit below us in second and third on the league table. So massive games here. If we can win both of these, as I said in the intro, we could find ourselves potentially securing promotion by the end of this episode. And we've also at some point today got a youth intake now that we are into September, but we are going to catch you guys up on the highlights of the free games that we have played since the last episode. These free games were quite winnable for us, looking at the positions of the opposition teams on the league table. It took us a little while to break down this Narvik side at home in the first of those games, but eventually around the hour mark, Sverrisson put us 1-0 up. A few minutes later, a corner which Baldursson just gets through the hands of their goalkeeper, just sneaks over the line, and shortly off the back of that opening goal, we made it 2-0, and then not too long before full-time, McQueen with a penalty. And in the end, we pick up a pretty comprehensive 3-0 win, as you can see there. Took a little while for us to break these guys down, but in the end, picking up a pretty well-deserved win. It was a pretty similar case in the next game as well against Hotterhugen, the amalgamation club. Olgiersson makes his way down the right, just shy of half-time. Another square up there for Sverrisson, and he puts the ball in the back of the net. He has found a good patch of form to grab that starting spot for now. He gets a far post header there just after half-time to make it 2-0. And then yet again, McQueen with a penalty. That one at the hour mark just turns around and does the sort of chicken dance thing. And we pick up a 3-0 win at home yet again. And the last game that we did play in this little stretch was away against Halka. And we got a goal fairly early on, the only goal in the game. Olgiersson with a header in pretty much the middle of the box, and we pick up a 1-0 win. Thanks to that goal, McQueen did miss a penalty at the 81-minute mark. Luckily, we did cling on and pick up a 1-0 win away from home. So the full 9 points from our 3 games since the last episode, and what that means for the league table, as you probably would have been able to tell by the fact that I mentioned we're playing the teams in second and third today, as we have gone back above Leiknir top spot, only 1 point above them. So this first game today is potentially quite big in terms of the title race, and if we can win it, then we're going to put ourselves in a good position to potentially maybe try and secure ourselves promotion. Maybe not, but we'll see with only 3 games left at the end of today's episode. If we can beat KF as well, it might be a bridge too far for them to catch us up. So some big games in terms of the promotion race for us today as we head into the end of the season coming up in tomorrow's episode. But unfortunately, going into the first game of today's episode, that top of the table clash, potential title decider this against Leiknir, we do have 2 injuries to bring you guys, and they are both to left wingers. Baldvinsson is very close to coming back from a calf strain, 1 to 4 days. He should be back for the KF game if he recovers in terms of his overall condition. He should be available for the KF game, but also out is Stein Grimsson, the regular left wing starter. He has sprained his knee ligaments. He is gone for the rest of the season, so we're really having to test the depth out on that left-hand side and what that means for the team going into the first game of today's episode. We've got Morlad on the right wing, and we've put the Argentinian Friolassier out on the left. Otherwise, it's more or less the team that we're starting to settle on in this first season of the save. Sverrisson is up top in better form at the moment than Christiansson. He is on the bench recovering from an injury as well, so he's been performing pretty well while Christiansson has been away. So Sverrisson can keep that spot in the advanced forward role. Bjarnason in there over Baldvinsson in the ball-winning midfield role at the moment as well. But otherwise, it's pretty much the team that we've been using for most of this first season. And hopefully we can pick up some pretty important wins across today's episode, as I said, to try and get ourselves out of this division nice and early and get ourselves a promotion going into the second season of the save. But we'll come back shortly for the first game of today's episode, taking on Leiknir first second from the Husavik Heroes. And it's half time in the first game of today's episode. Absolutely nothing happened in that first half. You can see XG-wise, pretty even game at the moment. Slightly behind them, even though we've had more shots on target. But honestly, it's been a pretty dull game so far. Hopefully things pick up in the second half. 0-0 with no highlights so far in this top of the table clash. Okay, up to the 60-minute mark in this game, we're still having absolutely nothing getting shown to us. So we're going to make a triple change up front, as we've got quite a few players here on 6.3 ratings. So Christiansson can come on for Sverrisson, Steingrimsson out to the right wing, and we're going to have to put Leidesson on the left wing. So trying to get some goal scoring up front in this game, but it has been a really boring one. Luckily, we've got 2 games in today's episode, because at the hour mark, no highlights and no goals. 63 minutes gone, and we've finally got a highlight. A corner in our favour. It is saved. It comes off the post, but Tagiko puts it in the back of the net, but the assistant raises his flag. It was a good first-time save from Magnusson, and that's what keeps it at 0-0. You can see Kiko is well and truly offside there. Just gets enough to tip that first header onto the crossbar, and it remains 0-0. 72 minutes gone here. It's a free kick to Leiknir. We have tried to up the tempo to see if we can get something going in this game. Kevin puts the ball back post there for Gautason. And Gautason with, I think that was his first goal of the season. Indeed it was. And they get a lead away from home. And this could hurt our title chances this year. Ball over the top. We didn't deal with it. Kevin is able to put a ball at the far post. And no one's marking Gautason. Still defending narrowly. I think that's what's cost us there. Good header. Gets it past Sigtligsson. And it is 1-0 Leiknir. And they've got another free kick here. That forces a really good save out of Sigtligsson. We are under pressure, 1-0 with only a quarter of an hour to go. And shortly off the back of that big save from Sigtligsson, they are on the attack again, but we do get possession back. And hopefully we can create another chance, much like we did from that corner, which has started this little flurry of highlights inside this last half hour. Puts a ball into the mixer somehow. That falls to Steingrimsson. Gecko with a shot. It's blocked. Olgiason's trying to get something going again for us here. We put a ball into the mixer. Christiansson. Olgiasson, his shot blocked, creating good chances in the right area of the field, but nothing so far for us. Still 1-0 down with 10 minutes to go. And we are up to the 90-minute mark here. Unfortunately, we aren't quite creating enough good chances, and we do fall to a 1-0 defeat at home in the first game of today's episode. That will mean Leiknir do overtake us to reclaim top of the table. We had more shots on target, but I think they were quite well blocked by their defence. They took their chance through that header goal to Gautason, and unfortunately we do slip up in the first game of today's episode. KF beat Halka as well, so we're certainly not going to be guaranteeing ourselves promotion come the end of the next game, but it is a big game now, only a 1-point gap between us and KF, and we'll come back shortly, probably using more or less the same team for that second versus third clash away at KF. Okay, walking out for the second game of today's episode, we are in the black, KF in the blue. We've made a few changes that I thought we'd better run you guys through. Baldvinsson into the ball-winning midfielder role for Bjarnason, and also Christiansson gets his starting spot back up front, and Baldvinsson is back starting on the left wing. So far, nothing happening inside the first quarter of an hour, although now it is a throw, and KF looking to play out from the back in the rain at their home ground. Second versus third, we really need to avoid a loss in this game. Otherwise, we go from top of the table to potentially slipping outside the promotion zone, which would be a bit of a disaster, albeit our run home after these games does look quite kind once we get past the Reykjavik game. I did say we'd be coming back for that one, but as you have been able to see earlier from the league table, they have slipped down a bit. So these 2 games did look quite enticing. Good run there. Unfortunately, the shot straight at the KF goalkeeper. It does remain 0-0 in this highlight. Will it continue? They pump it deep, and it might be KF here on the counter-attack. Nice ball there for Shakam. Good save that time from Sigtrygson to keep it at 0-0. A good chance down either end. We'll see if anything happens from this corner here to KF. They put it in the mixer, put it high and wide, and it does still remain 0-0. 27 minutes gone. It's another highlight here to KF. They put a ball into the mixer. It's headed. Sigtrygson just gets enough on that, and then it's cleared off the line by McQueen. So we're living dangerously despite those stats being slightly in our favour up until that little patch, and now we're down the other end for a corner of our old Balderson. Just puts it over the bar, so it's a helter-skelter game, but still 0-0. And that is half-time in this game. Yet again, it is 0-0, but we're getting a lot more highlights from this one than we did from the game against Leiknir. We're going to make one change here at half-time. Morad on a 6.3, just struggling out on the right wing. We'll also change the strikers around here as well, but Fiolasia can come on for Morad, and we'll see if that does anything. Hopefully, we can grab a goal in the second half and try and get a little bit of a gap on ourselves and KF down in third. Throw-in for KF, the very early highlight here in the second half, and they do knock it back and now look to go forward here to the side, as I said, who are in third but are now right hot on our heels. A win here would see us slip outside the relegation zone. Wouldn't be the end of the world, but wouldn't be great either. Stefansson, tight angle, gets a shot off, but forces a pretty safe save there from Sigtrygson, and it is still 0-0 early in the second half. 51 minutes gone here. It was a goal kick there from KF, and they are now on the attack. Luckily, that ball has a little bit too much weight on it, and Sigtrygson will tidy things up at the back for us, having a decent game. Nearly let one through earlier. Luckily, McQueen was in the right place at the right time to clear it off the line, but they are certainly creating all of the highlights so far. Most of the shots have been in their favour dangerously, and Diok now gets that pass. Sigtrygson, good finish there from Umar Diok. I think that set his 11th goal of the season, so he has been very dangerous for KF, and we now find ourselves potentially finishing this episode down in third place. Nice flick on there for Diok. Good finish, just getting that inside the far post, and we go 1-0 down at the 50-minute mark here against KF. 53 minutes gone now. It's another free kick here to KF, so they are all over us in this game, despite the stats being pretty even. They're getting more quality shots off. Going for the far post there was one of their attackers, just goes wide, and we cling on to a 1-0 deficit. And up to the 60-minute mark here, we're going to make another few changes. A few players aren't performing that well, so Steingrimsson can come on for Baldvinsson, and we'll switch those wingers around, and also Sverrisson can come on for Olgierson, who's struggling just a little bit today, a bit unusual for him. So those are our free subs used. We are still 1-0 down, and Diok now with a free kick. We do block it through the wall, and we do get possession back. Sverrisson off the bench and immediately getting involved. What can he do for us? He's been pretty good while Christiansson has been out injured. Hopefully he can keep that good runner form going. Edge of the box back for Hufsnam. Now Sverrisson tries to put a ball into the mixer. Our left back does. Oh, it's a wonderful strike from Santiago. Fiolasia just curves that around the goalkeeper, and it is 1-1 after 63 minutes, and we strike fairly quickly after going 1-0 down. Sverrisson tries to put a ball in. Lufson puts one in, and it finds Fiolasia. Nice little finish there, as you can see, curving it around the goalkeeper, and we are back in this, and we would cling on to second place in the league if we can hold on to this 1-1 draw. 4 minutes gone, we have a free kick, or at least a ball put into the mixer, but it does fall straight to their goalkeeper. Have upped their tempo yet again to try and get a goal out of this game to see us pick up the full 3 points. That would be quite nice, give us a little bit of a buffer here on KF. Sverrisson trying to put that the wrong side of the goalkeeper, forces a save, and then a block from one of the defenders. A good chance there, double chance for Sverrisson. We try and get it back into the mixer, but they do deal with it, and with only a few minutes to go, it will remain 1-1, but we have a throw-in at the 88-minute mark. Can we pinch a late winner? The Argentinian holds the ball up after getting that good equaliser for us about 20 minutes ago. Flick on there for Christiansson, but just puts that the wrong side of the post, and he was offside anyway, and we do enter injury time. We try and encourage the boys, but unfortunately, it's a more drop points for us in this game. Only a loss and a draw coming from today's episode, and then we had to come from behind here against KF, and in the end, I think it's a pretty fair result. They had more of the chances based on the highlights that we saw, though their chances a lot more clear cut than ours, and it's a 1-1 draw, albeit a result that does see us cling on to second in the league with only 3 games left to go, and those games are quite generous in terms of the opposition that we are playing. But we'll come back shortly because we should be about due for our youth intake. And indeed, we have had our youth intake, so time to run you guys through this. You won't be seeing too much of these players in the immediate future. We're probably going to sign most of them because our under-19s don't have much depth to it, and I think we could use a bit more depth in our under-19s from this first youth intake anyway, and then we can start cutting players once we get a few more of these. But this is what our youth intake looks like. We've got one very good talent, a couple of top talents, a few good ones, and a couple of decent. So we'll probably just focus on these top few. They're the players who are more likely to get some game time. As you can see, current ability wise, none of these players look overly great. So despite us being down in the 3rd tier of Iceland, no youngsters with great current ability, but a few who could potentially help us out in the higher division should we get that far over the next few years. But the pick of this youth intake does look like this man, the defender David Luna Hulkson, I believe is how you would pronounce that name. Not that it matters too much when you are a regen. 15-year-old central defender, can't really play anywhere else. He's got decent jumping reach, 1.82 meters tall. Definitely something that we can work with there at the back is Hulkson. We go to the top talents. We've got Blondal as a striker. He's got 8 finishing, so could use some work there, but decent base for a 15-year-old. More pros than cons. Nice youngster, good teamwork. He should be useful with that 4-star potential, and also with 3.5-star potential, a left winger, Torfason. Having a quick look at him, he's got some decent physicals. The rest of his game could use some work, but at 16 years old, hopefully he will have time and might be good enough to get a few future first team appearances for us. And then we'll have a quick little flick through the rest of these guys. We've got Gunnarsson, who's a striker with 4 finishing, so not as sure about him. We've got Hardison, who is a right wing back, could potentially be retrained as a right back, but he looks okay. Decent acceleration. We keep making our way down. Golfson is a right winger with decent physicals as well. He could potentially be of some use to us. Carlson is a midfielder. He's already got some decent mentals and physicals, so he could be one who's a bit better than what he first looked like. We keep making our way down. Lenasson is a kind of midfield right winger, so might not fit our system, but hopefully we can train him back up as a out-and-out attacking right winger. Looks okay. Another central defender here in Filipovic, 9 heading, 10 jumping reach. Not that tall, but looks decent enough with 3-star potential. Adel Bjornsson is a striker, 16 years old, who actually has quite good finishing. So despite only having 2.5-star potential, I actually reckon this guy might be the most interesting looking one of this youth intake, just based on that finishing attribute alone for the 16-year-old. We have a decent looking defensive midfielder here in Flasson, and then we get down to the decent talents who we won't spend as long for this youth intake. So nothing that immediately stands out as first team ready, but some players towards the top end of this youth intake who could potentially find themselves in the first team at some stage throughout this save. A good youth intake apparently. Would have been nice to have a few more players with some higher current ability, but we do have some potential promising players who could work their way through to the first team. As I said, we're probably going to end up signing most of those guys anyway, and we'll see how they develop down in the under 19s, while we hopefully can strengthen this team as well in this upcoming window at the end of the season. But that is what our youth intake looks like in a recap of the league table after the 2 games. In today's episode, we dropped down to second, just holding on to our spot above KF, but there's a bit of a gap back to the rest. Hopefully, going into tomorrow's episode, we will be able to secure promotion. I think we're going to come back the first chance that we do have of trying to secure ourselves a place in the division above for next season. We've got games coming up between now and the end of the season. We're taking on Proto Reykjavik, a team who, as I said, have slipped down the table just a little bit. That game not as important as I thought it might be, so we might skip over that one, and hopefully we'll come back potentially tomorrow for an Agia Magni double header, and we could potentially secure promotion in one of those 2 games. And also, if things do turn to custard a little bit for Leiknir at the top of the table. There is a very slight chance we could overtake them and try and pinch the title as well. But I think now, with a 4-point gap, with only 3 games remaining in the season, it's looking more than likely that we're going to have to settle for second in this league in a promotion spot instead of going up in style with the title. But that would still be a pretty good accomplishment when you consider we were only expected to be a mid-table team here in the first season of this save at Völsungur. So that will do it for today's episode. 2 pretty rough results and a youth intake which looks okay. If you did enjoy today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and do like the look of this save and this series, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. We will come back tomorrow and wrap up this first season of this save, see where we finish and do the end of season review as well. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.